So it's been no secret that Enlisted has a lot of vehicles in their mod editor and their dev servers. Of course, for those who don't know, the vehicles that are in the dev server and the mod editors are first in there, and then sometime Enlisted decides to put these in-game. This has been the case for a lot of the vehicles and weapons that we have originally in-game, and this is where you can find some of the newest techs. So without further ado, this video has been made possible for the friends at Discord, meaning if you haven't liked, subscribe, and joined the Discord, highly suggest that you do. But in today's video, we essentially get to see the potential new vehicles in Enlisted. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting with the first one, which is the LTDGB. This is a Swedish anti-aircraft gun, and I'm not wrong. This is a Swedish anti-aircraft gun that has a 40mm M36 cannon on the thing. This is an anti-aircraft gun and technically classified in War Thunder as an Spaa, and essentially acts like a mobile anti-aircraft gun system, which is great. To why a Swedish vehicle will be in Enlisted is beyond me. Maybe as an event squad, or maybe as an event vehicle, so that's that. Moving on, we have the AS42 Palatina. This is essentially an Italian armored car and has a 20mm cannon on the top. Of course, this thing is essentially an armored car with no hood and essentially just a 20mm on top. Essentially, I do think this is a very nice addition for the Italians in terms of the Spaa. And if you play War Thunder, this is a very annoying vehicle against light tank. And next up, we have the Biplane. This was historically a German Spaa with 4 20mm anti-aircraft guns. This essentially uses the Flak 38 with 4 20mm and is essentially an anti-aircraft gun on tracks based on the Panzer IV chassis, which is actually a pretty good anti-aircraft gun. Of course, this has been in game since the launch of the open dev server and of course the mod editor, which is great, and Enlisted hasn't given us this into the game. Moving on, we have the British, who apparently have a Chromo tank in the game files, but it currently is not able to be opened, meaning that they don't even have the model yet, which is kind of sad. So it's likely that it's not going to be coming in soon, or the opposite could happen and it's coming very soon, and we're just going to be getting this ASAP. Of course, moving on, we have the Germans with their anti-aircraft guns, and to be exact, their Spaas. In this case, we have the SDKFZ 6/2. This is a 3.7mm flak 37mm anti-aircraft gun mounted on essentially a SDKFZ, and is actually a pretty good vehicle. Now, for taking out planes, of course. For taking out tanks, that is a little bit problematic unless you're taking out low-tier vehicles. And while we're at it, we have two Soviet milk trucks. We have the GATS AAA-4M. This is essentially a Soviet milk truck for Maxim machine guns, and the Soviet GATS Dushka. This is essentially a Soviet truck with a Dushka as their anti-aircraft gun, which in all reality, it's not bad for anti-aircraft. But moving on, we have the Americans, and they have something pretty interesting, and that is the M375mm gun. For those who don't know, the M375mm gun is a M3 gun mortar carriage. This has been seen in the game files, and it's currently a pretty interesting vehicle, and I think it's pretty interesting. Especially if this is intended as a armored personnel carrier role, or more likely an anti-tank role, which is what it was made for. Moving on, we have the planes, and we have mostly German planes, with the exception of one. For starters, we have the DO-17. This is a German 2-engine bomber that was essentially classified as a light bomber that was made by Dornier. And in terms of other bomber aircraft, we have the Ju-88. This is a German bomber that is actually pretty good, has the ability to use a torpedo, but of course in Enlisted that's not really the case, and is classified as a heavy fighter instead of the Dornier being classified as a light bomber. In terms of biplanes, we also have the Fiat CR-32. This is an Italian biplane used by the Italians in the Spanish Civil War and World War II. It was horrifically outdated for World War II, but that's alright if this is used at Tier 1. In terms of the Americans, we have the VO OS2U Kingfisher. This is essentially an American plane with the ability to land on water. It was essentially a plane used by the United States, the Royal Air Force, and the Royal Navy, and the Soviet Navy. So it's pretty interesting in terms of the usage and historical performances. It was also a plane that can be recovered at sea via a crane, which made it even better. And in all reality, I do think this is America's answer to the Seagull, and the Seagull is pretty bad. And I do think this is a replacement for a Seagull or an event squad. Overall, these are all the event weapons, potentially, or the new weapons in-game that could be used. I do think some of these weapons are going to be coming in, if not all of these weapons are going to be coming in. Preferably some in the tech tree and others in the events. But overall, this is all what we have. And comment in the comment section down below of what do you think of these vehicles, and if I have missed any.